Just curious, Dad.
This is not a video on how to do things the right way, okay? This is a video about how a guy who has no experience whatsoever in knife making or any knife making skills, apart from what he's seen on YouTube, this is his attempt to put a new handle on a Wustof Chef Knife. So basically, the backstory is that due to ill treatment by myself, the plastic handles became brittle and snapped. You can see that there. And the other one isn't in great condition either. So what I decided to do as a bit of a challenge was to try to make a new handle for this knife, which is actually a really nice knife. It's been badly treated, but it's lovely and sharp, keeps a good sharp blade on it. So I decided I'd try and make a wooden handle for it. So I ordered 2 pieces of wood. I can't remember what type of wood it is now. That's how much I know about wood. And I used the old handle taped back together again to make a template. And I used a coping saw or a fret saw, whatever you call it, to cut out the wood. And as you can see there, I've sanded it a bit because there is, if you look at the blade here, you'll see there's a kind of a rounded end there. So I sanded these to kind of get them to fit up nicely. And you can see that there. As nice as I could to fit up there. So I've cut them roughly. Okay, so that's the first step. And the next step is I've ordered a couple of brass bars, narrow brass bars, and I'm going to use them to pin the roughly cut handle, well, pin and epoxy glue the roughly cut handle to the, I think this is called the tang, this little bit here, if I'm correct. So I'll sand that down nicely first, and then I might clear these holes, might drill them a little bit, change the diameter, but I'm not sure about that yet. Then I'm going to loosely glue these on here, or epoxy these on with the pins, and then try and sand it down and make a nice handle. So that's how far I've got so far, and I'm just waiting on the bars to be delivered. Probably get them tomorrow, and then I will follow on from there. So let's thumbs up, and hopefully it works out. Okay, so we're back again. Now I'm going to prepare this tang, if that's what it's called. I'm going to remove this rust using a bit of sandpaper to prepare it for epoxying the handles on. So I've got a bit of sandpaper here somewhere. Right, so now what I'm going to do now, I'm not sure if it's the right way, but like I say, this is how a novice does it. So I have some double-sided tape, and I'm going to take the double-sided tape and I'm going to put some on this side and on this side, and I'm going to use that to temporarily hold the new handle in place so that I can drill holes. So I'll put one there, and I'm going to use these holes here as guides, and then I'll flip it over and do the other side. Okay, so that's the plan. Wish me luck. Okay, so I've placed my double-sided tape on. You can see it there. And I'm now going to peel these off. Hopefully this works okay. This bit's kind of difficult. Probably got the wrong knife for this. Try this side. Okay, that's one bit. Another bit. Right, so remember, this is just temporary. Need to make sure I get this the right way. Forget that let's just see now. Is everything covered? I want to leave a bit of space. Okay. Alright, that's one side of it gone. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I am going to use my bench drill and I'm going to drill these holes here. Hopefully, I'm going to have to go through this side, obviously, because I've got these registration holes here already. And obviously can't go through that side. I'm going to have to be really careful, though, that I don't end up pushing out, you know, causing it to splinter on this side of the wood when I drill through. So I'm going to do that really carefully. Okay. We're back again, and I've skipped forward a step or two because it was too difficult to film and drill and do all the lining up and stuff. So where we're at is I have the holes cut, and my bar had arrived earlier today, and I scoured it with sandpaper using the drill to turn it, and just a bit of rough paper just to give it a bit of bite so that it adheres to the epoxy. And I learned that off a guy on YouTube, and I cannot remember his name now. But anyway, thanks, guy on YouTube. I'm sorry I can't remember your name. Right, so what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to put the epoxy on this side here. Or would I put it on there? I suppose it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to mix it and put it on here. That's it there, the Gorilla stuff. And I'm going to put that on there, and then I'm going to put it on the other side, and then I'm going to stick it on there. So here we go. Wish me luck. So first thing we've got to do is snip this thing off here. Do I snip that off? Yeah. So I'll use the knife. Okay, that's off. Now something to mix it on, which I probably should have thought of before now. Right, let's mix this stuff. I've squeezed out all the air. So equal bits of each. Here we go. Right to the edges. Some around there as well. Here we go. Okay, that's one side on. Let's flick that around and do the other side. Alright, here we go. Now, that looks okay. So I suppose the next step is to clamp that, and let me just put some light on that. So I was going to clamp that and clean the excess glue off. God, what a mess I've made. So I skip forward a couple of steps again, and this is as far as I've got. Right, so I glued the new scales on, the roughly cut to shape scales. I've shaved the pins down and I've actually sanded them flush with the handle. So now what I have to do is I have to file this down to match the profile of the knife. So I have already had a little bit of a go at it, but now the work starts to just flush file the wood down and sand the wood down until it's flush with the tang, and then shape round the handle. But so far, very happy with the way it turned out. It's the first time I've done it. It's not too bad. The pins turned out okay. The epoxy seems to have dried well. So now on to the next step, which is filing and shaping. So let's do that. Okay, so once again I skipped forward a bit, and my battery went flat on the camera and I couldn't wait to finish it off. So I did. So I used a rasp, a rounded rasp, so that standard rasp there. I got this rasp here, which is kind of a smaller rounded version, and I also used this flat file as well, and sandpaper, and that's all I used to shape this. And the final thing to bring out the grain was a couple of coats of Ruston's boiled oil, and that's linseed oil. And I did see a couple of other oils, like tung oil seems to be quite popular, but this is what they had in my local shop. So I got it, and it works great, very well. The oil very well, looks really nice. I'm really happy with that job. So there's the whole knife. So we went from a broken plastic handle to a nice walnut handle. The pins filed down nicely, and that is the first time I've ever tried anything like that, and I'm really happy with it. So I might try one of the other kitchen knives, and just to give you a quick idea of how well this works, or how it changes the tone of the wood, I'll just put a wee dab on this kitchen towel. Let's get rid of these first of all. Okay, put a bit of a dab on here. And I have a knife that, unfortunately, with a wooden handle, that ended up going through the dishwasher, which is a no-no because it swells, causes the wood to swell, and also basically takes all the life out of the wood. So let's see what happens when I use a little bit of the linseed oil on this wood. Use a bit more than that. And straight away, I don't know if you can see that, the grain is jumping out. I can feel it being sucked into the wood. It's that dry. Oh my goodness, that makes such a massive difference. I'll just flick it over and show you the other side in a second. So, a nice liberal coat of that on. I don't know how well you can see that. You can really see the grain leaping out. So if you turn it over the other side to the raw wood, you can see there's a big difference. Okay, so that's the handle dried out, and that's the handle with the linseed oil on it. So obviously the linseed oil isn't dry yet, but you can see that it sinks straight into the grain. It really does lift it, and that's what happens with the handle on that knife behind you. Same thing. So I'm going to do the other side of this while I'm at it. The blade is quite blunt, so I'm not going to chop my fingers off or anything. I'll sharpen that up once this is done. A little bit more. It's not an unpleasant smell actually, it's kind of a nice smell. Have to be careful with the rags though, or the the cloth or the tissue that I'm using to apply it, because apparently it can catch fire. That's the boiled version of linseed oil, which is what this is. Okay, there you go. So the grain's really left out on that now, so I'll leave that dry and I might apply another coat tomorrow. So there you go. Anyway, there's the finished knife. So I would highly recommend, if you have a broken knife at home and you have a few tools, give it a go. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next Chris the Curious Dad adventure.